Good afternoon, dear students. Today we are going to talk about literature review. For research methodology as well as for the graduation exercise, you will be required to write a literature review or critically review the literature on the topic that interests you. Indeed, many students like you are afraid to review the literature for mainly a few reasons. Number one, you have to read a lot of associated readings. Then you have to make judgments as to the value of each piece of work. And finally, you need to organize those ideas and findings into a review. So you may find this process difficult and time consuming. Let's take a look at a few reasons to review the literature. First of all, carry out a preliminary research of the existing materials associated with the research subject. Second, preliminary research that helps you to generate and to refine your research ideas. Third, it helps you to organize valuable ideas and findings because significance of your research and what you find out will inevitably be judged in relation to other people's research and their findings. Fourth, you need to map and assess the existing intellectual territory to establish what research has been published in your chosen area, and you need to identify other researches that may be in progress if possible. Fifth, consequently, associated readings will enhance your subject knowledge and help you to clarify your research questions further. Lastly, it will help you to develop a critical perspective. So this process is called critically reviewing the literature. Let's discuss the literature review process. Literature search is the first activity for most research projects. However, you have to continue searching throughout your project's life. You can refer to the diagram 3.1 in your slide that shows the process that can be likened to an upward spiral, culminating in the final draft of written critical literature review. Then you need to define the parameters to your research questions and objectives. After generating keywords and conducting your first search, you will have a list of references to authors, those who have published on this subject area. Once these have been obtained, you can read and evaluate them, record the ideas, and start drafting your review. After the initial search, you will be able to redefine your parameters more precisely and undertake further searches, keeping in mind your research questions and objectives. As your thoughts develop, each subsequent search will be focused more precisely on materials that is likely to be relevant. At the same time, you will probably be refining your research questions and objectives in the light of your readings. Let me share the purpose of the critical review. The precise purpose of your readings of the literature will depend on the approach you are intending to use in your research. For example, for some research projects, you will use the literature to help you to identify theories and ideas that you will test using data. This is known as a deductive approach, in which you develop a theoretical or conceptual framework which you subsequently test using data. For other research projects, you will be planning to explore your data and to develop theories from them that you will subsequently relate to the literature. So this is known as an inductive approach. And although your research still has a clearly defined purpose with research questions and objectives, but you didn't start with any predetermined theories or conceptual frameworks. Okay, so the basic differences between inductive and deductive approach. In research, deductive approach is aimed at testing theory, and inductive approach is concerned with the generation of new theory emerging from the data. Then a deductive approach usually begins with a hypothesis, while inductive approach will usually use research questions to narrow the scope of the study. And deductive approach is used for quantitative research, while inductive approach is used for qualitative research. Gall and others in 2006 have highlighted a number of other purposes of critical review in their book for students undertaking educational research. Number one, to help you to refine further your research questions and objectives. Next, to highlight research possibilities that have been overlooked implicitly in research to date. Then to discover explicit recommendations for further research. This can provide you with a superb justification for your own research questions and objectives. Then to help you to avoid simply repeating work that has been done already. Then next, to sample current opinions in newspapers, professional and trade journals, thereby gaining insights into the aspects of your research questions and objectives that are considered newsworthy. Then to discover and provide an insight into research approach, strategies and techniques that may be appropriate to your own research questions and objectives. Let me share how we can adapt critical perspective in our reading. Harvard College Library 2006 provides for its students a useful checklist of skills to be practiced for effective reading, such as number one, first skill, previewing, which is looking around the text before we start reading in order to establish precisely its purpose and how it may inform your literature search. Then second skill is annotating. This is conducting a dialogue with yourself, the author, and the issues and ideas at stake. Here the Harvard advice we think is very useful. It urges readers to be thinking intensive. Then the next skill is summarizing. The best way to determine that you have really got the point is to be able to state it in your own words. Outlining the argument of a text is a version of annotating and can be done quite informally in the margin of the text. Then the next skill is comparing and contrasting. Ask yourself how your thinking been altered by this reading, or how has it affected your response to the issues and themes you research. Then let me define the word critical, because this word has appeared in the chapter a number of times so far. So it is vital in your readings of the literature that a critical stance should be taken. So what is meant by critical reading? Wallace and Ray sum this up by saying that you need to have two skills. Number one, you have to have the capacity to evaluate what you read. And second skills, you need to have the capacity to relate what you read to other information. Then more specifically, Wallace and Ray advocate the use of 5 critical questions to employ in critical readings. These are, you need to ask, why am I reading this? Okay. Second question is, what is the author trying to do in writing this? Then third question, what is the writer saying that is relevant to what I want to find out? Then the fourth question, how convincing is what the author is saying? Then last question you need to ask, what use can I make of this reading? Dear students, we end our discussion here for literature review part 1. Thank you very much.